Hi everyone, this is Gareso here and welcome to Gareso workflow number 2. The animation you're watching right now was also created for the Animation Smashdown online contest, and the theme for this one was procrastination. So let's do it. I had this idea floating around in my head for a while. This time I jumped straight into Photoshop to define the framing for every shot. So this animation is divided in 8 shots. And here are the sketches for every one of them. And that's it. I was pretty happy with the sketches, so I jumped into Illustrator. Here, this time, I imported all sketches into separate artboards, and then I started with this one here, tracing and finishing the design. So I used the sketch only as a guide and kind of finished the design in Illustrator. And after I have all the lines traced, I start to play around with colors. And one thing that I really like to do is to search for color palettes to start with online. And one page that I really like is this color.co, and the other one is this colorhunt.co. So here I just get one color palette to use as a starting point. As you can see, it's a completely different color scheme than the one I ended up using. Judge me, but that's how it is. Sometimes I go all over the place and go back to one color scheme in the end, but what I do is to define some color areas, the contrast, and kind of the overall relationship between the colors. And then I select areas or everything in the illustration and use this tool here, which is the Recolor artwork in Illustrator. And here I just go to edit colors, I lock them, and I start to play around. Like in the beginning, I just see what other possible combinations I could have. I found the original quite cold and I wanted something warmer. Just trying some other combinations and stuff. You can even unlock here and tweak the colors one by one. And if you mess around too much and want to go back to your initial state, all you have to do is to click on this icon here, so which is get colors from the artwork, and you are back to the initial state. I mean, I can change colors more than once. Even sometimes I define the color one day and the next day I just open and I just feel like I want another color palette, and then I change it. And that's it. After messing around with the colors, I had to finally make a decision. So I kind of settled on this color palette here, which I applied to all the other keyframes. So this time, as I was kind of mixing frame by frame animation with After Effects animation, what I did was to copy and paste the artwork from one scene to another file, just so I could prepare it to import in After Effects. And here I just try to separate the shapes into layers, thinking on what's moving in After Effects and how I'm animating it. So like the arms separate from the helmet, the face, the head, the neck, the body, and the butterflies here in front. So I was doing that as needed. Like after I finished animating one scene, I came back here to this file, select everything, copy to another file, separate the layers, and imported that into After Effects. And for the scenes that I was going to animate frame by frame, like this one and this one here, I just copied and pasted straight into Animate and did everything from there. But as I'm not coming back to Illustrator in this video, I'm just telling you how I did everything in the end. So design defined, it was time to start animating. So in Adobe Animate, I animated 3 shots. The last one where the character leaves the scene, the close up to the face, which I forgot to mention, and the first shot where the character arrives and we have this camera movement. And I did the usual rough pass cleanup process, which I got into a bit more detail on my workflow number 1 video. So if you're interested, I recommend you to watch it after this one. So the only difference with this project is that I tried animating the camera here. So it's basically I stretched vision of the character and the camera moving upwards and elements animating accordingly, only to find out later that the camera is not exported with Adobe Animate's project file. And then I had to export this as a PNG sequence to After Effects, because for some reason the Swift file wasn't working either. But anyway, technical problems, but the animation is here. Scene 2 is a close-up to the face, which I could have done in After Effects, but I did it here. And here I use Shape Tween for the wrinkles in the eyebrows. And the fire for the eyes is just the usual straight ahead on twos animation, just copying and pasting keyframes as well to give it a loop. And scene 3 is the most complex one. So I'll show here the rough pass. It's a really quick animation. So as usual, working in layers. First I animated the legs, then the torso, then the arms with the helmet, then the head, and then the backpack. Then I did the cleanup and exported the animation to After Effects. And here, for the first shot, the only thing I animated in After Effects was the head turn, just because for this kind of movement, I find it easier to do it using shape layers. So what I did was to export just the headless body from Animate and the background, and then I imported just the head from Illustrator. I created the outlines and animated the paths, so it's pretty much 2 keyframes for all of the shapes. I prepared this comp here just to illustrate how I do my shape animation in After Effects. So what I do is, after I create the outlines for the Illustrator file, I just come here, twirl down until I get to the path, and click the stopwatch to create the keyframe here, and do that for every group. So just creating keyframes, kind of unlocking the animation for each group. Then I press U on my keyboard and see all the keyframes, and then just move the timeline and select the points you want to edit. What I really like in After Effects is that after you selected a few points, you can double click one of them and you can rotate and move the position. And then you create this animation just by rotating and positioning the points. And the good thing is that you're not restricted to just one path at a time. You can edit all the paths in the same layer at the same time. So if I select all of them, rotate here and move them, press enter, and then you have the animation. I think this is really powerful. I find myself doing this kind of animation quite a lot when I'm not doing frame by frame animation. And that's it. That's how I did all the animations inside After Effects for this project. So when you're moving points around, just be aware that they're moving in a straight line to the next position. So sometimes you kind of have to create one frame in between just to kind of fake the arc. And that's it for the scene, just the head animation. Second scene, I didn't do anything at all here in After Effects. For the third shot, everything was animated using the same path animation technique. Let me show all the keyframes here. So there's not a lot of keyframes. It's a really basic animation. For the camera movement, I just created one null object here, parented the key objects to it, and just did a simple scale. For the lines here, it was pretty much the same thing, animating the paths. Let me just shut these guides off here for a moment to show that I used a trim paths animation as well, just to make the lines grow. And I stroke width as well to make them kind of fading in a nice way. And that's it for the shot. So no secrets here for the fourth shot. It's pretty much the same thing, path animation all over. And then we have the backpack shot, which is one of the shots that I enjoy doing the most, just because it was a technique that I wanted to try, and it kind of worked pretty well. Everything here, except for the zipper itself, is just the usual path animation. But for the zipper here, I'm using a text layer. So if you just select the text here, and let's get another font so I can show that. You can just select here and type my name, for example. Let's just make it normal. And it's just a text aligned to a path. So you can pretty much create your own font with your own symbols to get access to the powerful text animation features in After Effects. So I found this great article on how to create a font by Luis Costa on the School of Motion website. And here he explains the whole process of creating a font from beginning to end. You can find the link on the description of this video. And the good thing about this technique is that you can kind of build a library of symbols, your own font, that you can use across all your projects. You just have to design your symbol, export as an SVG file to Font Forge, just choose one random character to hold your symbol, choose File, Import, edit the font info, then publish your font, install it in your computer, and then you have it available here in After Effects. Then all you have to do is animate the mask that we are using as a path. As you can see here, I did the mask animation to match the movement of the hand. So I did the animation of the hand first, and then I tried to match the zipper animation. And that's it for this shot. For this shot here, simple layer and path animation. The same thing I did for the other shots, except for the hot butterflies, which I used 3D layers and animated the orientation with just a small expression here just to loop. And for the final shot, I just used the animation as I exported from Adobe Animate, except for the butterflies, which I used the same comp from the last shot, just scaled and positioned to match this shot here. And that's it. Once again, I'm just trying to give you an overview of the process. I'm not getting too much into details here to keep the video manageable. If you want to get deeper into the details of this project, I'm making the files available for download at Gumroad. But please, if you have any questions, just leave your comment and I'll try to answer each one of you. So as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and follow me on Instagram to see what I'm up to next. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you next time.